Today we're putting 3 classic Patagonia fleeces to the test. We're gonna be talking about the R1 Air, the Better Sweater, and the Synchilla Snap T pullover. These are 3 beasts. They've been in the line for a long time. Today we're gonna talk about where they shine and where they don't. That's it. So before we get started here, we're just kind of gonna do a packability test right out of the gate. I grabbed a fairly small bag off of the wall. This is the Daylite Sling from Osprey, and we'll see which one fits and which one doesn't. Start off with the Better Sweater. So that's pretty big, pretty beefy. I'm gonna do my best here to fit her in there, but you never know. It's tight, but fits. That's pretty solid. That is not a big bag, but you're not fitting anything else in there at all. You know, if you want something really packable, Better Sweater, it works, but it's not what it's known for. Next, we're going for the R1 Air. This thing is all about packability and breathability. So let's see how it stacks up. So right out of the gate, you can see how much smaller this is. It's definitely doing what it's supposed to do. So obviously with that, I'm gonna be able to fit that in there. Plus I have room, you know, I have about the room for maybe like 2 apples in there, just to give you something that we all know about. I can also still fit things in that front zipper pocket. Again, we'll see how easy this is here to just, there's no tension in that zipper. Super packable, super compressible, whereas the Better Sweater, like, it was taking up the entirety of this bag. There was no compression like able to happen with that. It was just fully stuffed out. There's so much room left in here for this R1 Air. Next, we've got the Cinch Snap here from Patagonia as well. So obviously much puffier than the R1 Air, but the biggest thing is kind of seeing how this stacks up to the Better Sweater more than anything. So much softer while I'm doing this. So you can see that like it wraps up smaller than the Better Sweater for sure. It's definitely an in-between between the R1 Air and the Better Sweater. So as far as packability goes, R1 Air most packable, mid packability level goes to the Cinch Snap, and least packable goes to the Better Sweater, just off of looking at it. But we'll toss it in here just to kind of see how hard it feels to zip. I mean, definitely way bigger than the R1, but it's more pliable than the Better Sweater, so I can definitely push it down more, and if I wanted to, I can compress it a little bit, and I can definitely fit more in there. I could probably throw a phone, a wallet, and a pair of keys in there still. You know, it's definitely, once it puffs up, it's taking all the internal volume out of this Daylite, but there's room in there for me to toss things on top as well as to squeeze things in there. So as far as packability, obviously the R1 is the winner. The Synchilla Snap is middle of the road there, and the Better Sweater is the least packable. Enough of that. Now let's hop into the specifics about each individual piece. All right, so first up here, we've got the R1 Air. We have talked about this one in another video, but we're just gonna do this awesome comparison here between these 3 new products that we're getting in for this fall and winter. Yeah, just this whole gridded fleece pattern is meant to allow air to continue getting through at the same time as keeping your warmth on the inside. So it does a good job of that like energy transfer between heat and cold to really keep you insulated while you're getting into high output activities, but allow that moisture and heat to also expel so you're not overheating. So a fantastic technical piece, more for those of you who are really getting after it. Something nice about this R1 here, they do come with hoods and without hoods, but I do like the non-hooded version a little bit better as a mid layer. You know, if I'm wearing maybe like a performance t-shirt, this, and then a shell on top of that, I already have my hood in my shell. So, you know, it's sometimes a little bit cumbersome, especially when you're wearing a skiing or snowboard or climbing helmet. If you have too many hoods, it can just kind of get bunched up. So it's nice that this does not have a hood, and none of these have hoods that we're talking about today. So a really good comparison between those. Super simple, super pared down technical fleece. This one's coming in that quarter zip. So really nice, just pull it over. It cuts out a little bit of weight without that zipper going all the way to the bottom. And then it just has that nice singular pocket there, maybe like a snack stash pocket. You could toss your cell phone in there. But yeah, the R1 Air, pretty simple. It's all about that technical face fabric. It's all about just, you know, that gridded fleece, again, like we talked about, letting in air, letting out air, and regulating your temperature. So we talked about this being a technical fleece. You know, with that, let's jump a little bit into how does it fit. So I would say the R1 definitely is a little bit more snug. I'm typically between a large and an extra large in most things that I'm buying. I'm at right around 6 feet, 180 pounds depending on the day. But I find that if I'm wearing this as an outer layer, you know, something that I'm utilizing while climbing or snowboarding on like a really nice bluebird day, I might tend more towards an XL. But if I'm using this as a mid layer, I definitely will aim for that large. So you know, if you're utilizing this as that mid layer and you are between a medium and a large, or a large and extra large, maybe go with the smaller size. But if this is gonna be like your outer layer that you're gonna wear on a hike, also to the bar to get groceries kind of everywhere around town, maybe lean towards the larger size of the two, just because this is a little bit more of a trim kind of piece. So if you like to eat a lot of burritos and drink beer, you might wanna just go for a size up, you never know. So the R1 Air is a technical fleece, but it is not a shell at all. Like I talked about a little bit ago, I like to pair this with a shell, you know, something like the Torrentshell from Patagonia or the Beta from Arc'teryx. We have videos on both of those, so definitely make sure to check those out. We'll leave some sort of links somewhere here on the screen for those. But you know, it doesn't block wind too terribly well, but it's not supposed to. It's not a windbreaker, it's not a shell. All right, next we're gonna hop into the Synchilla Snap T. In this case, we are talking about the pullover, just because we're trying to keep like subjects together here with the quarter zips. So right out of the gate, much more like puffy kind of feeling, definitely not as packable as the R1, but very soft, very cozy. You know, I would say this thing's mostly meant for casual warmth and layering, like definitely more around town, maybe a campfire fleece, a post-ski or snowboard riding fleece, but there's not a ton of tech built into this thing. It's more about style and comfort. You know, the Synchilla is a line that runs deep within Patagonia over the last 20 years, and these things usually have some pretty sweet colors, so that's definitely something that they focus on with this Synchilla, is that fashion. Again, super simple. Rather than having a zip, it has that snap there for the quarter zip, as well as the singular snap pocket right there. You know, if you can fit a phone or a wallet in there, a pair of keys if you're going out to the bar, just something super simple. But you can see like this is very similar in like a design from a perspective of like the way it looks to the R1 Air, but it's just totally different materials and totally different function. So whereas the R1 lives, you know, out in the backcountry, this one lives in the city for sure. There's nothing fancy to it. It's just soft, cozy, feels really good, looks really nice, really comfortable. So if you are, you know, someone who likes to get after it in the daytime and then at night, you know, enjoy a nice meal and go to the bar, definitely reach for that Synchilla Snap. It's a great option for that. All right, next up, we've got the better sweater. Definitely not my cup of tea, but if you're someone who likes to go to church on Sundays and go to dinner with your grandma and really look good for the in-laws, you know, this is that thing. The better sweater has been around for a damn long time, and it's not going anywhere. And just hand feel right out of the gate, man, this thing feels soft, it feels cozy. The internal lining here is just so nice. This thing is, from my perspective, all about fashion, not function. You know, I've definitely seen people around the campsite chopping logs in this before, but I think you would get way overheated. You know, if you're just a Patagonia fan and you want something that's super, you know, durable, long lasting, a really, really high quality made fleece product, again, that is really good for going out to dinner or going grocery shopping, just wearing around town, the better sweater is the one. It's tried and true, it's been around for a long time, that's why. So if you are looking for kind of like a cold fleece jacket, if you're someone that runs warm and you don't want like a huge insulated jacket during winter, like that's kind of how I am. I could probably just wear a t-shirt in this at 20 degrees outside and be plenty warm. So whereas the R1 is all about that breathability and that heat transference, this thing is all about keeping the heat inside. So if you want to stay warm and cozy and comfy, the Better Sweater is a fantastic option for that. Again, just got that full zipper there, 2 hand pocket zippers on the bottom, and then the 1 chest zip right there, just like a little stash pocket. I'm just really comfortable soft materials around the neck. It's not gonna rub, it's not gonna chafe. This thing is all about comfort, and that's it. So if you wanna look cool, if you wanna rock the Patagonia logo, but be comfortable while you're doing it, the Better Sweater or the Synchilla Snap are definitely the 2 options. A little bit more toned down in color, a little bit more loud, so just depends on who you are as a person, but can't go wrong either way. So if you're looking for a fleece, whether that be something technical for the backcountry, something for going out to the bar, or something to wear at Sunday dinner at your grandma's house, you cannot go wrong with any of these. If I had to pick one for everything, I would go for the R1 Air just because that's my style. I'll wear this in a pair of cool pants to church and not really care if anybody thinks I'm underdressed. But if you do want to make sure you look good as well, definitely lean more towards the Synchilla and the Better Sweater. So depending on your vibe, all 3 of these are fantastic, tried and true, long-term pieces in the Patagonia line. And those guys make some dope products that they really, really stand behind. So any one of these is a fantastic purchase, fantastic pickup. And if you want to do that, buy one of these, head on over to our website at ridgeandriver.com and use the code YouTube10 for 10% off of any one of these items or anything on our website. We always talk about how expensive things are nowadays, and gear and clothing are definitely no different. So we want to save you some money. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, thanks for watching. Doses.